Someone in your life is playing dirty, and you're still trying to be fair. That's not virtue. That's a losing strategy. Here's what nobody tells you. The moment you decided to take the high road, they won. Not because they were smarter, not because they were stronger, because they understood something you refuse to accept. People lie. People manipulate. People will smile to your face and dismantle you behind closed doors. This isn't pessimism. This is a 500-year-old observation. Niccolò Machiavelli, political philosopher, strategic genius, and the most honest man in the room, wrote it plainly in The Prince. Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. Read that again, slowly. He wasn't celebrating deception. He was issuing a warning, and you've been on the wrong side of that warning. Ask yourself this question: how many times have you played by the rules while someone else rewrote them mid-game? How many times did your fairness get weaponized against you? That stops today. Your kindness isn't the problem. Your naivety about how power actually works. That is the problem. Being good in a dirty game, without knowing the dirty rules, doesn't make you noble. It makes you prey. Today, you're getting a Machiavelli's 7 ruthless rules for when people play dirty. These are not philosophy lectures. These are field-tested psychological weapons. Rule 1, read the real game, not the stated one. Rule 2, control information like a surgeon. Rule 3, never reveal your next move. Rule 4, use their aggression as your ammunition. Rule 5, strike at the source, never the symptom. Rule 6, build alliances before you need them. And Rule 7, let them destroy themselves. Stay until Rule 7, because that final principle, it ends wars without a single battle. Here is your first brutal truth. The map is not the territory, and the game being played is never the game being described. Your coworker isn't giving you feedback. They're running a campaign. Your friend isn't just worried about you. They're managing your ceiling. The meeting isn't about the project. It's about who controls the narrative. Dirty players operate on 2 levels simultaneously. The surface level, words, smiles, stated intentions, and the subterranean level, motive, leverage, positioning. You've been reading the surface. They've been playing the depth. Think of it like this. You're watching a chess match, but you're only tracking the pieces. They're tracking the player. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." This applies to them, and it must now apply to you. Tactical execution. Do this immediately. Observe behavior, not words. Watch what people protect, not what they profess. Track patterns over a 4-week window. Who interrupts whom in meetings? Who gets credited and who gets erased? Who defers and who decides? When someone does something that contradicts what they've said, believe the behavior. Every time. Without exception. This is called closing the information asymmetry gap. They've had more data on you than you've had on them. That ends now. Start a private observation log. Note inconsistencies. Not obsessively surgically. You're not becoming paranoid. You're becoming precise. The lion doesn't panic when it enters the jungle. It reads the jungle. Once you can read the real game, the next question is, what do you reveal about yours? What you withhold is power. What you expose is weakness. Here is where most people hemorrhage power without knowing it. They talk too much. They over-explain. They justify. They share their plans, their doubts, their timelines, their vulnerabilities in real time to people who haven't earned that access. In a clean game, transparency is trust building. In a dirty game, transparency is target practice. Ask yourself this question: when was the last time you shared something personal and watched someone use it against you later? Exactly. Machiavelli was surgical about this. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But above all, avoid being despised. What makes you despised in a power dynamic? Predictability. Exposure. Weakness performed in public. Dirty players weaponize your openness. They file it. They wait. Then they deploy it at the worst possible moment. In a group setting. In a crucial meeting. in front of someone whose opinion matters to you. This is called a covert contract violation. You trusted them with information. They were never bound by your rules of engagement, your tactical execution. Practice strategic ambiguity. When someone asks about your next move, give them a direction, not a destination. Say less than necessary. Let silence do the heavy lifting. Silence is not weakness. Silence is compression. Maximum meaning, minimum exposure. Compartmentalize ruthlessly. Not everyone gets the same version of your plans. Give different people different fragments. If information leaks, you'll know the source immediately. This is not manipulation. This is information hygiene. The fox doesn't announce to the forest which path it's taking. Now, what happens when they come at you directly, when they bring aggression to your door? Unpredictability is your most dangerous weapon. Dirty players run on anticipation. They study your patterns. They predict your responses. They provoke you precisely because they know what you'll do. You'll get defensive, you'll explain yourself, you'll chase the argument to its end, you'll take the bait. Every time. Predictability is the cage you built around yourself. Machiavelli understood this at the level of states and armies. Never attempt to win by force what can be won by deception. Force is loud, traceable, and exhausting. Unpredictability is silent, disorienting, and free. Count to 3. Watch what happens the next time someone baits you into a reaction. Notice the physical urgency you feel to respond immediately. That urgency, that's the trap snapping shut. Tactical execution. Break your response patterns. Deliberately. If you always explain yourself, stop explaining. If you always fight back, go silent. If you always deflect with humor, go serious just once. Watch the shift in their positioning. Delay strategic decisions by 24 hours minimum. Never announce plans. Never preview retaliation. Move in silence. Use the gray rock technique. In escalating confrontations, become the least interesting target in the room. Flat, non-reactive, impossible to read. Impossible to provoke. The hyena hunts animals that panic. The animal that stops, holds still, and stares back confuses the algorithm entirely. Unpredictability is not chaos, it's controlled mystery. But here's where it gets sharper. What if their aggression has already landed? What if they've already scored a hit? Let every attack they launch become evidence. This is the principle that separates reactive fighters from strategic players. Reactive fighters return fire. Strategic players collect fire and redirect it. When someone plays dirty against you, publicly undermines you, makes a passive-aggressive remark in a meeting, spreads a narrative about you, your instinct is to counterattack. That instinct will cost you. Why? Because dirty players are counting on your counterattack. They've already framed the narrative. Your anger becomes their evidence. Your defense becomes their victory. Ask yourself, have you ever watched someone completely destroy their own credibility by overreacting to a provocation that was designed specifically to trigger that reaction? You have. And so have they. They've watched you do it. Machiavelli's principle here is cold and exact. The one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise that the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not. Their aggression is poorly timed, emotionally driven, and usually exposes more about them than about you. Your job is to let it. Tactical execution. Document everything in writing. Every inappropriate message, every public slight, every covert threat. Build a file, not for revenge, for options. Practice deliberate non-reaction in public. When they attack publicly, respond only with a calm, brief acknowledgement. That's an interesting perspective. Full stop. Watch the room, read the contrast between your composure and their desperation. Let witnesses do the work. You don't have to defend yourself if the room just watched them behave badly. This is called social proof reversal. You don't fight the narrative. You let the narrative collapse under its own weight. The wolf doesn't explain itself to the sheep. But sometimes the attack isn't public. Sometimes it's structural. It's at the root. Amputate the root. not the branches. Here's where most people waste enormous energy. They fight the symptom, the gossip, the passive aggression, the repeated undermining, the small power moves. They address each one, point by point, incident by incident, and they are exhausted and no further forward, because the symptom is not the problem. The source of the problem is the power dynamic that made the attack possible. Machiavelli was precise about this in the context of political conquest. Men ought either to be well treated or crushed, because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries. Of more serious ones, they cannot. Therefore, the injury that is to be done to a man ought to be of such a kind that one does not stand in fear of revenge. Harsh? Yes. True? Also yes. If you want to stop the behavior, you don't argue with the behavior. You restructure the conditions that allow it. Tactical execution. Identify the leverage point. What does this person need from you? Your time, your approval, your access, your compliance. That is the actual source of the dynamic. Control the source. Reduce access gradually and without announcement. Don't cut dramatically. Cut surgically. Reduce the resource they're extracting. Watch the behavior recalibrate automatically. Elevate your positioning simultaneously. Dirty behavior tends to target people below or equal in perceived status. Increase your visibility, your alliances, your value to the larger system. The cost of targeting you rises. You are not fighting a person. You are restructuring a power equation. The surgeon doesn't argue with the infection. The surgeon removes it. Now, what do you do when you're surrounded? When it's not one player but a network of them? Power is not a solo game. Here's a mistake that intelligent, independent people make constantly. They believe self-sufficiency is the ultimate power position. It isn't. Isolation is the most dangerous position you can occupy in any power environment. Dirty players know this. That's why their first move, almost always, is to separate you from your support structure. They undermine your relationships. They create narratives that make you seem difficult, unstable, or untrustworthy. They make you expensive to ally with. And if they've already done this to you, recognize it for what it is. A calculated siege strategy. Machiavelli wrote, "The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him." Your alliances are a direct reflection of your strategic intelligence, and alliances built during crisis are worth a fraction of alliances built before it. Tactical execution. Invest in relationships with zero immediate agenda. Consistency, reliability, genuine interest. People remember who showed up before they needed anything. Identify the node individuals, people with high social connectivity, credibility, and access. One strong node relationship outweighs 10 peripheral ones. Create value asymmetry. Give more than you take in early alliance stages. People protect what they feel invested in. Make yourself worth protecting. This is not networking. This is strategic positioning. The wolf that hunts alone starves in winter. The wolf that built the pack before winter survives everything. And now, the final rule. This one doesn't require you to fight at all. Stay with this, because this is the most powerful principle on this entire list. The most devastating victory requires the least force. Let them destroy themselves. Every dirty player carries the mechanism of their own destruction inside them. Arrogance, overreach, the inability to stop once they've started, the compulsion to keep escalating. Machiavelli observed this pattern across every political dynasty he studied, and he arrived at one of the most counterintuitive conclusions in the history of power. It is not titles that honor men, but men that honor titles. Meaning power borrowed from dirty tactics is borrowed. It doesn't compound. It doesn't sustain. It consumes itself. Your job in the final stage is to simply not be in the blast radius when it does. Ask yourself this question: how many people have you watched implode from their own behavior? Given enough time and enough witnesses, dirty players tend to reveal themselves. Your role is patience, strategic patience, tactical execution. Stop fighting every battle. Reserve your energy for battles that matter structurally. Let minor provocations pass without response. Every non-reaction banks energy for decisive moments. Position yourself as the stable, reliable contrast to their volatility. You don't need to attack their reputation. Your consistency will do it passively. Don't rescue them from their consequences. This is the hardest part. When you see the spiral beginning, resist the instinct to intervene, smooth things over, or maintain peace at your own expense. Let natural consequence run. This is not cruelty. This is conservation of force. The lion does not chase the hyena from the territory. The lion simply makes the territory inhospitable for hyenas. Over time, they self-select out. You came into this video playing by a rulebook that your opponents threw away years ago. Let's close the loop. Rule 1. Read the real game. Behavior over words, always. Rule 2. Control your information. Exposure is a liability. Rule 3. Stay unpredictable. Break your patterns deliberately. Rule 4. Use their aggression as evidence. Let it work for you. Rule 5. Eliminate the source of the dynamic, not the symptoms. Rule 6. Build alliances before you need them. The pack before the winter. Rule 7. Let them destroy themselves. Be the stable contrast. This is not about becoming a dirty player. This is about becoming impossible to exploit. There is a difference, and it matters. The person who never learned these rules, they're still confused, still frustrated, still wondering why fairness isn't working, still taking the high roads straight into the ground. That is no longer you. Here's the final warning, and take it seriously. Every day you refuse to understand how power actually works is a day you hand power to someone less scrupulous than you. Your conscience doesn't disappear when you learn these rules. It becomes strategic. Machiavelli wasn't celebrating cruelty, he was ending naivety. And naivety in a dirty game is not a virtue, it is a choice. With consequences. If this hits something real for you, subscribe, because this channel is building a library of strategic intelligence that most people will never find. New video every week. Machiavellian principles, dark psychology, power dynamics applied to real situations in your real life. And right now in the comments below, I want you to write one word, the name of the rule that you needed most today. Was it patience, silence, alliances, unpredictability? Write it below, because naming it makes it real, and making it real is the first move. Write Sovri IGN below if you're done playing the victim's game.